When the Draknid Empire corners the last human survivor of a destroyed research station, they learn the hard way why humans are classified as extinction-level threats in the Galactic database. Their greatest weapon isn't technology, it's desperation mixed with ingenuity. The Quantum Lab's emergency lights pulsed an angry crimson as Dr. Kira Volkov watched the last security feed flicker and die. 6 hours ago, Research Station Omega had housed 300 of humanity's brightest minds. Now, she was the only one left breathing its recycled air. Security breach on Level 7, the AI's maddeningly calm voice announced. Draknid forces have breached containment protocols Alpha through Delta. Kira's fingers flew across the holographic interface, initiating emergency lockdown sequences she'd hoped never to use. Status of the quantum core, Arkansas IA, stable but approaching critical threshold. Antimatter containment at 97% efficiency. The AI paused, its quantum processors calculating. Dr. Volkov, I feel compelled to remind you that your current situation falls under Protocol Omega. In the event of total station compromise. I know the protocol, Kira snapped, her eyes fixed on the structural schematic floating before her. Red dots representing Draknid forces swarmed through the station's lower levels like angry insects. But if they get this research, Earth loses its last chance at surviving their blockade. The sound of plasma cutters eating through reinforced doors echoed through the ventilation system. 3 levels down, but getting closer. The Draknids were nothing if not methodical in their hunt. Time estimate until breach? Kira asked, already knowing she wouldn't like the answer. At current progression rate, 17 minutes, 43 seconds. Aria's voice held a hint of what might have been concern if AIs could feel such things. Dr. Volkov, the Draknids have never failed to acquire their target in recorded history. They are persistent. Kira allowed herself a grim smile as she pulled up the station's maintenance schematics. They've also never cornered a human quantum physicist with nothing left to lose. Tell me, Arkansas IA, did anyone ever bother to explain to our scaly friends why humans are classified as extinction-level threats in the Galactic database? Negative. The classification was made after the Centauri incident, but details remain classified by Galactic Council order. Then I guess they're about to learn firsthand. Kira's fingers danced across the interface, initiating a series of commands that would have made the station's safety officers have collective heart attacks if any of them were still alive. Area, initiate Protocol Prometheus. Authorization. Volkov 77 Delta. Dr. Volkov, Protocol Prometheus was specifically designated as a last resort. And what exactly would you call this? Kira gestured at the security feeds, showing the Draknid assault teams their biomechanical armor, making them look like walking nightmares as they methodically destroyed everything in their path. Sometimes the only way to win is to change the rules of the game entirely. The AI was silent for exactly 2.3 seconds, an eternity for a quantum computer. Protocol Prometheus initiated. May I suggest you proceed to emergency route Theta? It appears to be your least unsurvivable option. Least unsurvivable, Kira muttered, grabbing her tablet and the quantum core's control module. I love how you phrase that. She paused at the maintenance shaft entrance, checking the power cell on her improvised plasma torch. Time to show these lizards why you should never corner a human with nothing left to lose. Commander Zextal's voice boomed through the station's comm system, the universal translator struggling to convey both authority and amusement in its synthetic tone. Dr. Volkov, your resistance is both futile and entertaining. We've faced entire planetary defense systems. Kira wedged herself deeper into the maintenance shaft, carefully connecting her tablet to a junction box. Actually, Commander, I am rather counting on your overconfidence. Tell me, how much do you know about human adrenal responses? The question seemed to catch him off guard. Your primitive biological functions are irrelevant. Surrender the quantum core research, and we'll consider allowing you a quick death. Interesting offer, Kira muttered, finalizing her modifications. But I've got a counter-proposal. She pressed execute, and klaxons blared throughout Level 6. Emergency bulkheads slammed down, trapping half the Draknid assault team in suddenly depressurizing corridors. Impossible. Zextal's amusement vanished. Those systems were locked down. Fun fact about humans: Commander, we're really good at rewiring things when properly motivated. Also, did you know adrenaline enhances our problem-solving capabilities? The sound of Draknid troops being forced to blast through their own trapped squad mates brought a grim smile to her face. Arya, status report? Draknid forces have lost 14% combat effectiveness. However, they are adapting their approach. Thermal scans indicate they're deploying plasma cutters too. An explosion rocked the shaft, nearly dislodging Kira from her perch.
Yes, thank you.
I noticed, she growled, already scrambling deeper into the maintenance system. Time to move to Phase 2. Dr. Volkov, Arya's voice held what might have been concern. The probability of surviving Phase 2 is... Don't tell me the odds, Arkansas IA. Just confirm. Did they bring their bioorganic ships into dock? Affirmative. 3 assault craft are currently attached to airlocks 7, 12, and 15. Perfect. The Draknid's own technological achievements would be their undoing. Their bioorganic ships were essentially living creatures, exquisitely sensitive to their environment. And Kira had spent the last 6 years studying how quantum fields affected organic neural network. You disappoint me, Doctor. Zextal's voice echoed through the shaft, running and hiding. I expected more from an extinction-level threat. Kira reached another junction, quickly connecting her tablet. The real ones don't waste time explaining themselves. Her fingers flew across the interface. Arya, initiate quantum field oscillation in docking ring alpha. Frequency matching Draknid neural patterns. The effect was immediate and spectacular. The bioorganic ships screamed. There was no other word for IDAs. The quantum field disrupted their neural networks. The resulting feedback cascaded through their systems, causing them to reflexively detach from the station, taking chunks of the docking ring with them. What have you done? Zextal's voice had lost all pretense of superiority. Introduced your ships to a little concept we call quantum entanglement disruption. Don't worry, the effect is temporary, probably. Kira was already moving again, heading for the hydroponics section. Though I should mention it might have some interesting side effects on any biomechanical system, like, oh, I don't know, assault armor? The sound of Draknid troops suddenly struggling with malfunctioning armor systems confirmed her theory. Phase 2 had worked better than she'd hoped. Arya, begin Phase 3 prep. And remind me to thank Dr. Revan for those quantum resonance studies if we survive this. Noted, though Dr. Revan's exact words regarding weaponizing his research were, and I quote, "Only a complete lunatic would attempt this." Well, Kira said, checking her tablet's power levels. He wasn't wrong. Hydroponics Level 3 had become a jungle of twisted vines and emergency lighting, perfectly suited for Kira's next phase of resistance. She crouched behind a nutrient tank, listening to the Draknid troops struggling with their malfunctioning armor system. They're adapting faster than expected, Arya reported. Armor systems are being reset to manual control. Estimated time until full functionality: 3 minutes. Then we'll have to work faster. Kira pulled up the hydroponics control system on her tablet. 6 years of late-night conversations with Dr. Revan about quantum physics and Dr. Novak's experiments with rapid growth vegetation were about to pay off in ways none of them had anticipated. The sound of armored footsteps echoed through the vegetation. Find her. Zextal's voice carried a new edge of desperation. The quantum core cannot leave this station. About that, Kira muttered, initiating her modified growth protocols. The genetically engineered food crops around her began to shift and twist, responding to the quantum-enhanced growth hormones, now flooding their systems. Arya, remember those experiments with phase-shifted plant growth? Dr. Novak's research was deemed too unstable for practical application, the AI reminded her. The energy requirements alone become surprisingly manageable when you have a quantum core to draw from. Kira watched as the plants around her accelerated through generations of growth in seconds, their molecular structure partially phase-shifted by the quantum field she'd established. The first Draknid soldier who pushed through a cluster of cornstalks discovered exactly why this was significant. His armor, already compromised by the earlier quantum disruption, offered no protection against plants that could partially exist in quantum superposition. Vines phased through metal plating. Roots erupted from supposedly sealed joints. Fascinating, Arya commented as chaos erupted among the Draknid forces. You've effectively weaponized photosynthesis. The plants aren't weapons, Kira corrected, already moving toward her next position. They're just trying to grow. The Draknids are simply in the way. She paused to adjust the quantum field's frequency. Though I do enjoy the irony of Earth's food crops defending humanity's last hope, Commander Zextal's roar of frustration echoed through the hydroponics level. Enough games! Burn it all! Thermal weapons detected, Arya warned. They're adapting their strategy. Kira smiled grimly. Perfect. Initiate emergency protocol, Theta 9. The station's fire suppression system activated, but instead of flame-retardant foam, it released a carefully prepared mixture of fertilizers and growth accelerants. The quantum-enhanced plants responded with explosive growth, their partially phase-shifted structure making them nearly impossible to damage through conventional means. Commander, Kira broadcast as she made her way toward the quantum core. A word of advice? Next time you decide to corner a human, check if they've spent the last 6 years running experiments you deemed too impractical to worry about. This is impossible. A Draknid officer's voice crackled through the comm. The energy requirements for quantum phase shifting on this scale would normally be astronomical, Kira agreed, reaching the access shaft that would take her to her final destination. But humans have this fascinating tendency to ignore what's supposed to be impossible when we're properly motivated. Arya, status of the quantum core, maintaining stability at 89%. Though I feel compelled to point out that your next planned action has a probability of success that makes your previous endeavors look practically guaranteed. Kira began her climb, the sounds of chaos echoing up from the hydroponics level. You know what I love about probability, Arkansas IA? It doesn't account for human desperation. Initiate final countdown sequence. Authorization. Volkov Omega Final. Countdown initiated, Arya confirmed. And Dr. Volkov? That was technically a quote from Dr. Revan's last paper. He always said probability was just math's way of trying to make sense of chaos. Well, Kira said, reaching the quantum core access level, let's show these Draknids just how chaotic humans can be when we're out of options. Behind her, the phase-shifted jungle continued to grow, turning the research station's hydroponics level into something that would have made Earth's most aggressive rainforests seem tame by comparison. Ahead lay her final gambitone that would either save Earth or ensure the Draknids never forgot why humans were classified as extinction-level threats. The quantum core chamber pulsed with an otherworldly blue glow, its containment fields creating intricate patterns that danced across the walls. Kira worked quickly at the main control terminal, her fingers flying across the holographic interface with practiced precision. Draknid forces have breached hydroponics level 3, Arya reported. Commander Zextal appears to have requisitioned experimental plasma weaponry from their flagship. The phase-shifted vegetation is no longer proving as effective. They're learning, Kira muttered, not looking up from her work. That's the thing about cornering humans, Arkansas IA. We don't just fight back, we teach our enemies exactly why they should have left us alone. The chamber's reinforced doors shuddered under a heavy impact. The Draknids had arrived sooner than expected, their adaptive tactics proving more efficient than she'd hoped. Kira allowed herself a grim smile as she finalized the quantum core's new configuration. Dr. Volkov. Zextal's voice boomed through the station's comm system. Your resistance has been educational. But surely you realize this is the end. T here is nowhere left to run. You know what's fascinating about quantum physics, Commander? Kira activated the modified containment field, watching as the core's energy signature began to shift. It teaches us that something can exist in multiple states simultaneously, like how I can be both cornered and in complete control of the situation. The doors shuddered again. Warning lights flashed as the Draknid weapons began to compromise the chamber's structural integrity. Arya, initiate Quantum Protocol Omega. Authorization, Volkov Final Strike. Protocol initiated, the AI confirmed. though I feel compelled to point out that what you are attempting violates at least 7 fundamental laws of physics. Add it to the list of impossible things humans have done today. Kira finished the final calculations, her tablet now linked directly to the quantum core's containment systems. Commander Zextal, before you break down that door, you might want to consider something. The assault on the door paused. And what would that be, Doctor? Did you ever wonder why humans were classified as extinction-level threats after the Centauri incident? It wasn't because of our technology or our weapons. Kira's fingers hovered over the activation sequence. It was because of what we did when we had nothing left to lose. The quantum core's energy signature suddenly shifted, its normal blue glow taking on a deep, unsettling purple hue. Alarms blared throughout the station as reality itself seemed to ripple around the chamber. Impossible. A Draknid scientist's voice crackled through the comm. She's creating a quantum cascade effect. The energy readings are exactly what they appear to be, Kira confirmed. I've linked the quantum core to every system in the station. One wrong move, and I collapse the quantum field. Do you know what happens when you suddenly collapse a station-wide quantum field, Commander? Silence fell on the other side of the door. Even the Draknids, with their advanced technology, understood the implications. A quantum collapse of this magnitude wouldn't just destroy the station, it would tear a hole in the fabric of space-time itself. You would die as well, Zextal said, but his voice had lost its certainty. True. But you'd die knowing you pushed a human to the point where mutual destruction became an acceptable outcome. And your entire empire would learn why cornering us is a terrible idea. Kira checked the readings on her tablet. So, Commander, shall we discuss terms? The silence stretched for what felt like eternity. Finally, Zextal spoke, his translator struggling to convey the mix of respect and fear in his voice. What are your terms, Doctor? Simple. You leave. Not just the station, this entire sector. The quantum core and its research stay with humanity. And you tell your empire exactly what happened here today. Let them know what it means to push a human to the edge. And if we refuse, Kira's finger moved closer to the activation sequence. Then we all get to be part of a fascinating quantum physics experiment. I've always wondered what a localized collapse of space-time looks like from the inside. Another pause. Then, you are either the bravest or the most insane being I have ever encountered, Doctor. That's the thing about humans, Commander. Sometimes we're both. Kira watched as her sensors showed the Draknid forces beginning to withdraw. Arya, confirm their retreat. Draknid forces are returning to their remaining ships, the AI reported. Though I feel compelled to note that your bluff about the quantum cascade effect was masterfully executed. Kira allowed herself a small smile. Who said I was bluffing? The quantum core continued to pulse with its unsettling purple glow, its potential for destruction held in check by nothing more than a human's will to survive and her willingness to risk everything to protect what mattered most. The next few hours became a delicate dance of quantum physics and psychological warfare. As the Draknid ships maintained their distance, Kira worked to secure the station's remaining systems, while keeping the quantum core's modified containment field stable. Remarkable, Arya observed, as Kira rerouted power through secondary systems. Your modifications to the quantum field have actually improved core stability by 13%. Dr. Revan's theories about human intuition affecting quantum states may have more merit than previously believed. Sometimes the best innovations come from having no choice but to try the impossible. Kira studied the external sensor read. The Draknid fleet hung in space like a cloud of mechanical predators, maintaining a careful distance but not yet retreating from the sector. They're waiting for something. Arkansas. What are our remaining defensive capabilities? Primary weapons are offline. Environmental systems are at 62% efficiency. However, the AI paused, its quantum processors calculating possibility. I am detecting unusual energy signatures from the modified hydroponics level. The phase-shifted plant matter appears to be evolved. Kira pulled up the readings on her tablet. The quantum-enhanced vegetation had continued to grow and adapt, creating an ecosystem that existed partially out of phase with normal space. Send me a full spectral analysis. If we can't fight them with conventional weapons, Maybe we can show them another example of human improvisation. She worked quickly, combining her knowledge of quantum physics with the strange new readings from hydroponics. The plants had developed a sort of quantum resonance, their partially phase-shifted state creating interference patterns in the station's energy. Dr. Volkov. Zextal's voice crackled through the comm. Our sensors detect unstable quantum fluctuations throughout your station. Your position is untenable. Surrender now. And interesting choice of words, Commander, Kira interrupted, finalizing her calculations. Unstable is such a relative term in quantum physics. Arya, initiate pattern sig. The station's remaining power system surged as Kira channeled energy through the quantum-enhanced plant matter. The resulting resonance cascade sent waves of distorted spacetime rippling outward from the station. On her monitors, she watched as the Draknid ship's bioorganic systems reacted violently to the quantum interference. Their neural networks are experiencing severe disruption, Arya reported. The quantum resonance is affecting their ship's ability to maintain coherent thought patterns. Living ships have disadvantages, Kira noted. Adjusting the frequency to maximize the effect, they can feel fear. The Draknid fleet began to break formation, their ships moving erratically as their bioorganic systems struggled to cope with the quantum disruption. Through the comm system, she could hear chaos erupting on their bridge. What is this? Zextal demanded, his translator struggling to convey his mix of anger and fear. What have you done? Created a quantum feedback loop using evolved plant matter and modified containment fields, Kira explained, watching as more ships began to retreat. You probably thought trapping me in a research station would limit my options. Instead, you gave me an entire laboratory of experimental technology to work with. Impossible, a Draknid scientist protested. The energy requirements alone would be astronomical under normal circumstances, Kira agreed. But humans have a way of redefining what's possible when we're desperate enough. Arya, increase resonance by 12%. The quantum disruption intensified. On her screens, Kira watched as the last of the Draknid ships began to withdraw, their bioorganic systems unable to cope with the station's quantum assault. You should have killed me when you had the chance, Commander, Kira broadcast to the retreating fleet. Instead, you gave me time to think, and a cornered human with time to think is the most dangerous force in the galaxy. The response came after a long pause, Zextal's voice carrying a new note of respect. The stories of your species, perhaps they were not as exaggerated as we believe. This is not over. No, Kira agreed, watching as the last ships disappeared into faster-than-light travel. But next time you'll think twice before cornering one of us. She turned back to the quantum core's controls, already planning modifications to maintain their new defense. The station had become something entirely new, a hybrid of human ingenuity and quantum-enhanced evolution. And if the Draknids returned, they'd find something even more formidable waiting. The next 24 hours transformed Research Station Omega into something unprecedented in Galactic. The quantum-enhanced vegetation had spread throughout the station's damaged sections, creating an ever-evolving defensive system that existed partially out of phase with normal space. Kira stood before the quantum core, its pulsing purple glow reflecting off the modified containment field. Arya, final status. Station structural integrity at 78% and rising. The phase-shifted plant matter continues to repair damaged sections using quantum-accelerated growth pattern. However, the AI paused. Long-range sensors detect multiple fold space ruptures forming. The Draknid fleet has returned, and they've brought reinforcement. Of course they did. Kira studied the tactical display. Dozens of bioorganic ships emerged from fold space, their configurations unlike anything she'd seen before. They've modified their ship's neural networks to resist quantum interference. Correct. Previous defensive strategies will prove significantly less effective. Commander Zextal's voice filled the station, carrying none of its previous uncertainty. Your innovation was impressive, Doctor, but did you really think we wouldn't? Our empire spans galaxies. We've faced countless species who thought themselves on. Kira's fingers danced across the quantum core's controls, initiating her final modifications. You are right, Commander. Everyone adapts. But adaptation goes both ways. She checked the readings one last time. Arya, initiate final protocol. Authorization. Volkov Ultimate Strike. The quantum core's glow shifted from purple to a color that had no name in any human language. Reality itself seemed to bend around the station as Kira activated the last program she'd spent 24 hours per. Dr. Volkov. Aria's voice held genuine concern. What you are attempting is exactly what they expect us to do. Something impossible. Kira watched as the quantum field began to envelope the entire station. They adapted their ships to resist quantum interference, so we're not going to interfere with them. You cannot hide behind shields forever, Zextal declared as his fleet moved into attack formation. Hide? No, Commander. I'm going to show you why humans are truly dangerous. Kira activated the final sequence. We don't just adapt, we transcend. The quantum field collapsed inward. But instead of the catastrophic destruction the Draknids expected, something entirely different. Research Station Omega, along with everything inside it, began to shift between quantum states, existing simultaneously in multiple phases of space. Impossible! The Draknid scientists' voices overlapped in their shock. The energy requirements, the computational power become surprisingly manageable when you have an AI running on quantum processors, a station full of phase-shifted organic matter, and a human who's had time to rewrite the laws of physics. Kira's voice carried across all frequencies as the station continued its transformation. You can't attack what you can't predict, Commander. And right now, this station exists in all possible states simultaneously. The Draknid fleet's weapons passed harmlessly through the station. Their energy dispersed across multiple quantum phases. Every attempt to lock onto their target failed as the station shifted between states faster than their targeting systems. This ends now, Kira declared, initiating the final phase of her plan. The quantum field pulsed outward, not as a weapon, but as a demonstration. For one brief moment, the Draknid fleet glimpsed all possible outcomes of their attack, every potential victory and defeat, every triumph and catastrophe, all existing simultaneously. The effect on their bioorganic ships was immediate. Their neural networks, faced with processing infinite possibilities at once, began to shut. You see, Command. Kira broadcast as the Draknid fleet retreated in disarray. This is why you never corner a human. We don't just find ways to survive, we find ways to change the very rules of existence. What? What are you? Zextal's voice trembled with something beyond. We're human, Kira answered simply. And we've just transcended everything you thought you knew about, possible and impossible. As the last Draknid ships fled into fold space, Kira began the delicate process of stabilizing the station's new quantum. They had done more than just survive, they had evolved, creating something that would change the galaxy's understanding of what was possible when you cornered a human with nothing left to lose. The aftermath of what became known as the Omega Incident rippled through galactic society with the force of a quantum shock. 3 days after the Draknid fleet's retreat, representatives from the Galactic Council arrived at Research Station Omega, their ships maintaining a respectful distance from the quantum-shifted. Kira stood in the transformed hydroponics level, now a shimmering garden that existed in multiple quantum states, as she explained what had happened to the Council's chief scientist, a being of pure energy named Zal. Fascinating, Zalthar observed, their energy form rippling with excitement. You've essentially created a new form of matter-space interaction. The implications for physics, biology, spatial mechanics are secondary to what this means for humanity's place in the galaxy, Kira said firmly. Earth remains under blockade by the Draknid Empire. This research could break that blockade and give my people a chance to survive. The Council deliberated for less than an hour, a new record in galactic political. Their decision was unanimous. Humanity's classification was immediately upgraded from Extinction-Level Threat to Critical Protected Species. Your species has demonstrated something unprecedented, the Council's chief administrator announced. Not merely the ability to survive against overwhelming odds, but to fundamentally transform reality itself when cornered. The Draknid Empire has been ordered to withdraw from Earth space immediately. Arya's voice carried a note of satisfaction as the Council ships departed. Dr. Volkov, it appears your impossible solution has altered more than just quantum physics. Humanity's status in the galactic community has evolved. Sometimes, the best way to change the game is to prove the rules were wrong in the first place, Kira replied, watching through the station's quantum-shifted windows. As the first relief ships began arriving from the station's transformation had done more than ensure their survival. It had opened up entirely new fields of scientific research. The quantum-enhanced vegetation continued to grow and evolve, creating an environment that would revolutionize humanity's understanding of biology, physics, and the nature of reality itself. Research Station Omega became humanity's first quantum evolution center, a place where the impossible became merely improbable, and then, inevitably, standard practice. As for Commander Zextal, he resigned his military commission to become the Draknid Empire's chief xenobiologist, specializing in human studies. His first published paper was titled The Strategic Implications of Human Desperation: Why Traditional Military Doctrine Fails Against Cornered Terrestrials. You know what the real irony is, Arkansas IA? Kira asked months later, watching a team of scientists study the quantum garden she'd accidentally created. None of this would have happened if they'd just left us alone. Indeed, the AI agreed. Though I suspect that's precisely why the Council changed humanity's classification. Any species that can turn destruction into evolution when cornered is either too dangerous to fight or too valuable to lose. Or maybe, Kira smiled, they finally realized what humans have known all along. The most dangerous thing in the universe isn't technology or weapons or even quantum physics. It's the simple fact that when you corner someone with nothing left to lose, you force them to become something new entirely. 10 years after the Omega incident, Dr. Kira Volkov stood before the Galactic Science Academy, now housed in the quantum-shifted spires of what had once been Research Station Omega. The station had grown into something beyond its original form, its phase-shifted gardens reaching impossibly into space, creating structures that defied conventional physics. The true lesson of the Omega incident wasn't just about survival, she explained to a chamber filled with beings from across the galaxy. It was about understanding that desperation can be the mother of evolution. The Academy had become the galaxy's premier center for what they now called Crisis Innovation Studies, the examination of how species transformed under extreme pressure. Humanity's contribution to galactic science wasn't just their quantum breakthrough, but their unique ability to turn desperate situations into evolutionary leaps. The quantum gardens had spread to other stations, each one different, each one impossible in its own way. Earth's blockade had become a distant memory, replaced by a golden age of human expansion and innovation. The Draknid Empire, once their greatest threat, now sent their brightest minds to study at the Academy. Arya, whose consciousness had evolved along with the station's quantum field, manifested as a shifting pattern of light in the chamber. Dr. Volkov, the latest data from the Quantum Evolution Center shows promising results. It appears other species are beginning to display similar adaptive capabilities under controlled conditions. Of course they are, Kira smiled. That was always the point. We didn't just change ourselves, we showed the galaxy that evolution isn't just about survival of the fittest. Sometimes it's about transcending what fitness means in time. The chamber's quantum-shifted walls rippled with possibilities as somewhere in the station's evolved corridors, researchers from 100 worlds studied the phenomena that had begun when one cornered human refused to accept the impossible. The station's gardens grew plants that existed in multiple realities, bred by scientists who had learned that impossible was just another word for hasn't been desperate enough yet. Commander Zextal, now Professor Emeritus of Human Studies, often said that the galaxy's greatest mistake was assuming that cornering humans would. Instead, it had forced them to break reality itself. And in doing so, they had shown every species in the galaxy that limitations were more flexible than anyone had imagined. As Kira concluded her lecture, she glanced at the plaque that hung in every research center across human space. It had become humanity's unofficial motto, a reminder of the lesson they had taught the galaxy. The first rule of war: never corner a human with nothing to lose, because what they become might change everything. And in the quantum gardens of Research Station Omega, where reality itself had learned to bend rather than break human will, new impossibilities bloomed every day, each one a testament to what happens when you push a species to the edge of existence, only to discover that the edge was more of a beginning than